to another episode of the Fanzone Podcast, your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening. No.
Great start to 2025.
Welcome.
Happy New Year, Bolton Wanderers fans. It is an absolute delight to be awake at 10 a.m. bringing you this preview show on New Year's Day. There is no place I would rather be. There is no people I would rather be speaking to. And there is no viewers I would rather have in our live chat this morning than all of you lovely people. So, welcome back to the preview show brought to you by us here at the Fanzone Podcast. 2025, Happy New Year to you all. The first preview show, the first preview show of the year. And what a way to kick off. Hey, New Year's Day, unbelievable. We're, of course, joined this evening. Nope, it's not the evening. Stop it.
Stop it with your evening.
We are, of course, joined this morning by Craig from Mansfield Matters. How are you this morning, mate?
Good morning and Happy New Year to you all.
Happy New Year, mate.
Good morning indeed. If you want to find more about Mansfield Matters, then if you head into the episode description, you'll find everything you need to know about those. And good mobbing to you, Colin, as well.
Mobbing, Colin.
So I suppose we should get stuck right into this morning's preview, and we'll go through this season so far. I hope you are all feeling significantly better than I am this morning, but the show must go on. Season so far, I don't need to remind you all how the Wanderers have kicked on, but Mansfield's season has been perhaps somewhat of a surprise, I think it's fair to say, for many of us keeping an eye on the league. Obviously, you got off to a really good start and things have slowed down a little bit, but you still find yourself middle of the park, mid-table. Are you where you expected to be? How has this season panned out for you?
We're way ahead of where we expected to be. I think for the most honest of Mansfield fans, there's always a small percentage that think, oh no, let's go and push on and let's try and do something daft like back-to-back promotions now. You know, for 98% of us, the only ambition this season was to finish outside of the bottom four. So where we are now, we are absolutely delirious at where we are now and absolutely loving, you know, every single game that comes. But with it, I think what we expected to find was that we would play football and struggle in certain games. We'd, be turned over by a few teams. But realistically, that hasn't really happened. There's only a couple of occasions this season where that has happened. One, of course, was against you guys in the league when Hiram decided to do a Hiram and get himself sent off. It's just what he does. And then, when we're in control of the game and, let's give the 3 points away. And then at Lincoln, but... Again, Lincoln was more about the timing of the goals. We conceded a couple just before half-time and again, a couple after the break. And so it looked a little bit different. But we've adapted really well. We went on a little bit of a run where we didn't score in 3 games, which is a little bit of a concern. And we have lacked a little bit of firepower. But in every game that we've played really, really well. We've played some good football. And, we've really, really not struggled to adapt as much as what we thought we have. And we're really looking forward to seeing what 2025 brings. And if we can strengthen a little bit in this transfer window, then who knows what may lay ahead. We're not getting too ahead of ourselves in terms of doing anything this season, but what Nigel Clough does really well is he builds long-term. So we tend to build a squad for the next season in January and try and sort of push on. And, we're really looking forward to seeing what we can do.
Fantastic. I mean, from an outsider's perspective, I didn't expect to see Mansfield, with all due respect, punching above their weight this perhaps early in their League One campaign. You look at some of the results, 3-0 against Peterborough, and like you said, you really haven't been out of games. There's not been many where you've been really, put to the sword. I mean, Birmingham, a great example to get a point there at home. I think for most teams in this division is something that they'd relish and, would be a good result for them. Is it sustainable? I think is my next question. Obviously, you've got to this point. Is it looking like January is going to be a good window for you, looking to recruit in the right places and sort of carry this on for the rest of the season?
I'd like to think so. I think one thing with Nigel Clough is we have a togetherness and a belief, and I think that is what the difference has been. Because you look at many other clubs, and you go through that run of 3 games without a goal, or you go behind in games, and the atmosphere turns really, really toxic. I'll use you guys as a little bit of an example. I was watching it at home that game because I couldn't actually get. Was it early December, wasn't it? And one thing I found was when we were on top of that game, your fans were really on the team and the manager's back, and you could really sense it. And I think if we'd have scored a second goal in that game, it would have been good night, and we'd have taken the 3 points back. And
Definitely.
maybe you may even look, sort of getting on the manager's back a little bit more and looking to replace him or whatever. And what we've not done is when we've been in those positions where we've been out of games, for example, the Birmingham game, you referenced it there, 1-0 was a fantastic result, but for a lot of that first half, we were on the back foot, we were on the ropes, and we were really struggling to string a couple of passes together. But we didn't get on the team's back. We all stuck together, and we all just sort of believed in the journey and just sort of enjoyed it for what it was. And there's not a toxic atmosphere anymore. And Nigel Clough has really embedded in that within us. 3 years ago when he first came in, you could sense it a little bit when we got to the playoff final in that first season back from COVID. But from then onwards, we've just sort of seen what he's capable of in terms of putting it out on the pitch. And we understand that it's a little bit more slower, it's a bit structured, and we just believe that something might come. And even if it doesn't, for example, like at Reading on the 29th, we lost 2-1, but we could have easily, scored and got an equaliser. But walking out the ground, when you lose 2-1, sometimes it's quite somber and it's quite a dense atmosphere and really quiet and a little bit tense. All the fans are singing on the way out. It's like we've won 2-1. It's very strange. It's very surreal to be within. And that's the culture which Nigel Clough has embedded, not just in the fans, but in the players as well. And in terms of the January transfer window, I think as fans, we would love to see us go out and sign a striker, go out and sign a midfielder and get a little bit of cover at right back. But Nigel Clough will just go, we're good with what we've got. We'll try and strengthen if we can, but we certainly won't go and say, here's an open blank check. It'll be the right players recruited for the right areas looking for longevity. In terms of sustainability, that all boils down to whether or not Nigel Clough will be here next season. He has made no attempt to hide the fact that he's looking to retire. We had a fans forum sort of February last year, and he said, if I don't get us promoted this season, that's me done. I'm stepping back. My wife wants me to retire. I'm looking to spend a bit more time with the kids. I'm pretty much done. And he had an automatic 1-year extension clause upon promotion, which was triggered. That expires this year. There's been no talk of a new contract or whatever. So we are a little bit fearful of what might happen post-Clough, but he seems to have picked up that love again this season. There's no pressure on his shoulders in terms of delivering results. I think even if he got us relegated and we had a terrible run of form and got us relegated, I still think the chairman would stick by him because there's just that belief in what he's building. So there's no pressure on him. He seems to love the game again. And I think he might give us one more season, then we might look to transition. So for me, sustainability is based on not what we do in terms of the players on the pitch. It's in terms of how we start to sow the seeds going forward in terms of management. Because Nigel Clough is looking to step aside, but his backroom staff aren't. We've got a ready replacement almost in Stephen Quinn, who is now doing his badges. He's taken a lot of the reserve team games. He's sort of really reduced his playing time this year. So maybe that's a bit of a transition, but we're not thinking about that yet. We'll be thinking about that's probably sort of April, May time when we get towards the back end of the season. We're just enjoying the ride. And, as long as we're putting in the performances, sustainability is just about keeping those performances going and keeping that consistency running through our veins, which has been the secret to our success so far.
How, just a couple of bits on that, Craig. Clough, how old is he now?
Oh, I wouldn't dare ask him. He's not as old as what people think. He had a younger start, didn't he?
That's right. Yeah, that's what made me ask. It's
I think what it is with him is obviously, his dad went into management quite young. He spent a lot of time at Bolton, didn't he, in the first time round, nearly 10 years. He's been there and done it. And I think with a lot of managers, they're happy to move around different areas to go to different clubs to prolong their career. Clough's not. He lives locally. He's had Burton, Sheffield United, Derby County, Burton, and now Mansfield.
Yeah.
Not had to move for any of those jobs. He's settled. His kids are growing up. I think he's probably just sort of had his fill. He's achieved what he wants to achieve. The one thing he wanted to achieve in his managerial career was to manage more games than his dad. He did that last season. And it was
Right.
no coincidence that as soon as he did that, the murmurings of him going, I might put my feet up now and draw my pension early. He started. So.
You know what? It surprises me, actually. I mean,
58?
58.
Yeah.
He's looking. I tell you what, some airline for 58.
I know. Not doing well, is he? Doing bad.
Yeah, it's that surprised me, actually. I thought he was a few years younger than that. Just also on that, Colin has asked, does that fan backing come from you guys overachieving in this first season in League One, or are you still riding the crest of a promotion from last season and expectations kind of tempering your reactions to games, etc.?
Okay, so I'll try and give her a really honest answer here and respect.
Yeah, go for it.
I absolutely 100% see why it might come from thinking about overachieving this season and riding the crest away from last season. But the truth is that this has been building from the very first day Clough walked through the door. We were pretty much third from bottom. I think we were second bottom in League Two in the COVID season. Players on stupid wages, no fans coming in, no income to the club. We had to rebuild a squad. The first season, fans come back. We get to the playoff final after a really good run. Second season, we miss out 1 goal on goal difference from the playoffs. And then third season, last year, we go and get promotion. He's built this culture from day one, from when the first day when the fans could come back in. We could see what he was trying to achieve. We could see what he was trying to do. And that has been built from then. This is not something which has been, which has happened overnight. No. We can see the style of play is come. So the belief and the way in which we approach games has certainly not come from overnight. And whilst we do think that there is a degree of overachievement this season, actually, when we analyse it in terms of keeping the squad together and the way that we go about our business, it's come from that. And I think it's just come from Nigel Clough being Nigel Clough and being honest and sort of going, you know what, we lost a key player in Davies Keeler-Dunn in the transfer window, but actually, that's been the blessing in disguise, because with Davies Keeler-Dunn, and this is no disrespect to him because he's a club legend, I think, he's doing really well at Barnsley, really pleased to see it, and he will go on to play higher. You can only play him in one position, and that, is behind the front two, sort of in a 4-4-2 diamond. And in League One, it was clear in those early games that wasn't working for us. And we often played that formation to accommodate him. Since he's left, we've got nobody that can play that role so well. So we've adapted and gone with 5 at the back. And that's been the transformation. We've become a lot tighter, and it suits our style of play really well. And you could see those seeds growing when we look back, 2 or 3 seasons ago. But we didn't quite have the right personnel to play it. We had square pegs in round holes. And what we've done is transition players over a period of time. You don't say to a striker, can you play centre-back for one game? And it clicks straight away. It takes a long time. Jordan Barry is the prime example now. 3 seasons ago, he was top scorer 4 seasons ago. Now he's playing centre-back every week, and he's so natural there. He can also play wing-back, and it's the same with Lucas Akins and a few other players. It's taken time to transition to that. So to answer that question, it's not about this overnight thing of going up a league and the momentum that comes with it. It's about growing that seed, watering that seed, and just letting it grow and learning from each other and learning from those mistakes, crucially, and really pulling together. When we sign players, this window, you won't see us sign 4 or 5. It'll be 3 in, 3 out, maybe that. But even those 3 in will be the right fit for the club in terms of positions and, most importantly, mentality. We don't have bad eggs in our club, because you find them out very, very quickly, and all of a sudden they're out of the door. It's daft to sort of put a parallel to the TV show Ted Lasso in the culture that he built in the dressing room. But actually, Nigel Clough does that really well. And if you look historically over his managerial career, that's why he's been successful, and that's why it's working.
Fair dues. Just for the benefit of the viewers, we're looking at the table. Mansfield currently sit in 11th on 31 points, just 3 points behind us. Same games played. So just to give you a little bit of perspective, should Mansfield beat us today, they will go above us in the league on goal difference. So it's probably more testament to how well Mansfield have done this season, but also a bit of a slight on how we're underperforming and the expectations that we had at the start of the season. And the money spent, obviously. So some comparisons there.
Can I just say on that, you're talking about the expectation level and money spent and stuff there. It's quite interesting to sort of hear you talk about it in that way, because there is such a small gap in terms of points and goal difference. But you've got this expectation that you want to achieve promotion because, you've been up there in the higher echelons, and I completely get that. You've spent money on the squad to try and get there, so you should be delivering results. We've spent money on one player this summer in Will Evans from Newport. Every other player that we've signed has been on a free, and that will happen again. And here's the example. This time last year, there were high rumours of us signing Lee Gregory, which was a desperate bid to try and get us over the line to get promoted. We didn't do it because Sheffield Wednesday wanted ridiculous money. So we went and signed Tom Nichols on a smaller fee, who was just a capable striker, and we waited till the summer to get Lee Gregory on a free. We don't splash the cash. We're very methodic in what we do. So those parallels are quite interesting to see as well. And we talk about the goal difference thing there as well. We didn't score a goal in 3 games, and we very rarely score more than 2 in a game. The Peterborough game was a bit of an anomaly, really.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear about those. You've got this expectation. If you come away with anything less than 3 points this afternoon, you will be fuming. If we come away with anything more than the point, we'll be highly delighted.
Oh yeah, you'll be buzzing, won't you? Of course you will. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's this league is crazy. I saw a stat the other day. I think it might have shifted slightly because it was prior to the last set of games, but there was 5 points difference between 5th and I think it was 13th. It's just, it's such a tight league this season. So every point counts. Hopefully we can come away with 3 points today. But no, it's a cracking insight, that, Craig. Thank you very much for that. Ben?
Indeed, yeah. Hopefully we can come away with 3 points. But let's take a little bit of a closer look at the team that will be expected to do that and bring you your injury update, team news, which is as joyful as ever, as you would expect. I think the biggest news that we've all seen will obviously be Kyle Dempsey sustaining yet another knee injury, which was highly unfortunate. The report being that it was something innocuous on his way back to, I think, coming back in that process. He sustained another knee injury, and he's going for, I think, a scan, and we'll find out whether it's a minor operation, meaning 2 or 3 months out, or whether major surgery is required, which means ultimately that'll be the end of his season, which is a real shame because I think he looked like getting back to that player. He obviously put a post out on Twitter saying that he still feels like he had a point to prove, and I think he was on his way to proving that point. So, yeah, it's bad news on that front.
I suppose the only, if there's any sort of positive to take from it, is the timing of it. If there's anything, obviously we can take him out of the squad and replace him in the January window. It's not ideal because everybody loves Dempsey, and he's had some stinking luck, as you say, with injury. It was as Everett put it, a box ticking exercise as he come back through the door. As he went to tick one of the boxes, it recurred. So bad news, as you say.
Yeah, very disappointing. Morley will be back available, not for this game, but Saturday's game at Exeter, after he will be recalled from his loan for Wickham. I think he is available for Wickham today, and I'm sure he'll be utilised in that game. And Toll obviously featured 60 minutes against Lincoln, so may not feature today. We'll have to wait and see on that. Josh Sheehan will be back in training next week, So obviously he won't feature today. So there's still a couple of bodies missing, but the likes of Mendes Gomez coming back is a positive after a really long time out. It's nice to see him getting some minutes. I'll say 2-2, obviously back in the fold after a couple of little hiccups in his start to life in a Wanderers shirt. But so far, I think we're not far from a clean bill of health. Obviously, those players mentioned that won't be featuring will be back relatively soon, apart from Demps. And the list of long-term absentees is thankfully starting to pass, apart from Demps, obviously. But what about in Mansfield's camp? How is your squad looking? Are you fit, ready, and raring to go?
Weirdly, for Mansfield, we've not got too many. I think one thing under Nigel Clough's tenure has been injuries, and what we have done is constructed a massive marquee at the training ground just to cater for all their injuries. Because at one point we would have like 14 players out, which is one of the reasons why Jordan Bowery ended up at centre back in that first season. But no, we're doing all right. I think we might have a struggle. The only thing with us is we do struggle with pace and sort of getting through games. Elliot Hewitt. He's been playing quite regularly recently, but he's still weirdly on the way back from recovery. He had an ACL injury a couple of seasons ago now, where he was out for pretty much the entire season. He's still not looked the same player, and he struggles to get through 90 minutes. But because for whatever reason he's been playing 90 minutes quite regularly, and he's struggling to do, Saturday, Tuesday, that sort of style of football. And he was really struggling at Reading on Sunday, and you could see that, and that sort of did cost us a little bit. So it'd be interesting to see if he's fit. Lee Gregory's on his way back from injury, but he was on the bench and sort of came on for 15 minutes at Reading. Bailey Cargill's got a little bit of a knock, but should be all right. And then the only one that is mainly doubtful will be Reece Oates, who again has just come back from pretty much a year out. He's only played a bit part in the last 3-4 games or so, but Nigel Clough won't rush him. The only player I don't expect to see involved is Ben Waine, who's on loan from Plymouth Argyle. It looks like he's completely gone down the pecking order. New Zealand international hasn't really impressed. He's not injured. He's just not favoured. The other will be Tom Nichols, who I'm actually surprised, 10 hours and 22 minutes into the new year, hasn't already left. So we'll wait. We'll wait and see what happens. But other than that, clean bill of health.
Fantastic. We will move on to our next segment, which is, of course.
Hang on, Ben. Sorry, Ben. Can we rewind a second? Because obviously there's a tenuous sort of link and connection between Bolton and Mansfield in the form of midfielder Keanu Bacchus, who was rumoured to be putting pen to paper on a deal with the Wanderers back in the summer.
I thought you were going to say Michelle Jevons, then.
I love Michelle. Bless her. If she's watching, love you, Michelle. Keanu Bacchus, talk to us, Craig. How's he been? Has he been pivotal for you this season? Has he shown his worth?
It's an interesting one with Keanu, because when he came in, I think many people were expecting him to sort of play in a wide role and maybe almost replace DKD. He's not done that, and it's taken him a while to settle. I understand why, because it's his first time in English football, moving away from home. His missus is pregnant as well, so he's settling in the area and almost having to learn a new position. Weirdly, Nigel Clough has decided to utilise him a couple of occasions at wing back. Fortunately, he doesn't seem to do that too often, because he did that at Stevenage in the FA Cup, and let's not talk about that because it was dreadful. But when he's played in midfield, he's played quite well, and he's had a bit of a run of late and really starting to settle and find his feet. Good combative midfielder. I think he'll, with a run of games under him, he'll really start to thrive. And certainly over the festive period, he's been one of our better players. And I certainly think maybe this time next year, there'll be a few more clubs looking at him. And he does fit well with what we want. And he's got a great attitude, and he's absolutely loving it. So really impressed with him, even though it's been a bit of a slow burner in his start.
Excellent. Perfect. Thank you. Ben, sorry.
That's okay. We will now move on to Pub Watch. So for any of you who are perhaps watching this on the way to Mansfield or making the trip down, where can you get your hands on some ale? Now, although the very thought of this absolutely repulses me,
I was waiting for that.
Craig, would you like to tell us where our fans can get some hands on some
Just before Craig does this, he's going above and beyond the Call of Duty here because he's actually teetotal. So this is based on research. So Craig, kudos for that, mate. Well done.
I think what I would suggest, if most of your fans are like your good self, there's a few Costas where you can get a coffee, which might sort you out for the afternoon, because struggling is
that would be
I think, yeah. No, there's a couple on the way. So as you're passing through, if you head into Plesley, which is sort of just outside Mansfield, as you come off at 29, there's a couple there. There's the Nag's Head in Plesley, which is quite often welcoming of away fans, and you've got Plesley Miners Welfare there as well. But if you want somewhere a little bit close to the ground, Bold Forester, you get a nice little bit of food in there as well. Always welcoming to away fans, and plenty of parking for coaches, etc. there as well. So pop in there, and if you want any advice on where to find it, just on X, look up Mansfield Police Football, and they'll tell you exactly where to go. But we're a friendly bunch in Mansfield, and there's also a Fanzone marquee at the ground, although weather-wise, it wouldn't surprise me later on if they turn around and go that short, because the slightest bit of wind and no, let's close it, too dangerous.
So started raining here.
A big thank you to Chris Jenks, who sent in a £5 donation saying, breaking news, Bolton are massive. And he actually also said he'd rather drink his grandma's urine than a pint right now. And Chris, I am in the very, very similar category to you. David, very happy new year to you as well. Channel member, here since very first episode, which for those of you who somehow remember was myself and Chris, just us two. Without all these fancy overlays and everything.
Amazing, everything's go full circle.
Indeed. And we'll round off this morning's episode of the preview show with what's the score, as always. Get your comments in at home. Score predictions, please. And let's hope for some 3 points, eh?
That is an unfortunate screen freeze, isn't it?
Oh my God. Oh dear.
Oh my God.
It was going to cut out, so I am back.
You need to watch that back, Ben, because your facial expression was an absolute picture, as we've just seen. But anyway, sorry.
I believe you. Right then, score predictions. Get them along in the chat. We'll hand over to our guest first. Craig, what is your thoughts and feelings on a score line ahead of today's game?
First game of 2025 will come out with a little bit of spring in our step. I will say 2-0 Mansfield, but I will happily take any form of draw.
Wow.
Fair enough. Optimism running high in the Mansfield camp. I don't think it's so much.
I'm not going to come on a Bolton podcast and say, yeah, Bolton are going to win, because
even though we are really, really poor. But
I've noticed this for the past couple of episodes. I'm going to have to call it out. I absolutely love the fact that Hugh is almost in here for every single preview show. And in his score predictions, he always gives a Bolton Wanderers score prediction and a Wigan Athletic prediction. Hugh, for whatever reason you decide to spend your time with us, I can't quite fathom it out, but we do really appreciate it, and it is a pleasure to have you on board with us. Chris, what's your thoughts?
So, new year, new me, renewed sense of optimism. Absolutely going to rip it up this season. I'm going to go with Mansfield 2, Bolton 1.
I think you. It's a safe bet, isn't it? It's a safe prediction. It's. I think I might join you on that one. Although, looking at the chat, there's been a lot of 1-1s, and I was inclined to agree with them. But you've given me a little dose of your new year, new optimism kind of.
I mean, what I will say, guys, is that Mansfield do struggle to score more than 2 goals in a game. If we only ever win by a 1-goal margin. If that, we very rarely turn on the style. So it'll be a narrow game, whatever happens. But on home soil, I saw someone put earlier that we've struggled at home a little bit, just because of the games we've played. We tend to do better away, but we do, we like if we can get on top and if we score first, then it'll be an interesting game. But if we go behind, that's when it'll be struggle. We need to really score Mansfield in the first half. We struggle pace wise after 60 minutes because we just can't play Saturday, Tuesday. We've not got the pace for it at the minute. So given the Christmas fixtures, that's why it'll be a little bit narrow. So be an interesting game. Looking forward to it. Good atmosphere too.
It's interesting that you say you're not going to come on a Bolton podcast and say that Bolton are going to win. When you look in the chat, pretty much every Bolton fan is saying it's going to be a Mansfield win. But hey, let's see what happens. Let's see. But whatever happens, just a couple of bits. There's 188 people in the live at the minute, which, if they all look like Ben, is a phenomenal achievement. I imagine I'm looking worse. So fair play. And also, again, and we say it every week, away games, despite how rough the season's been, 1,700 fans travelling down to Field Mill today. That's just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. You can't question the support. It's been amazing this season, as has all you lot, your support for the pod as we go into the new year again. I know we've said it loads in posts and what have you, activity on social media, but genuinely thank you to every single one of you for your support. So, legends, lot of you. I think Ben's frozen again.
Not as unfortunate as the first one, is it? Let's be fair.
No, I think it would have been actually, Craig, but it's a little bit pixelated, that one. I don't think it's the best look. But...
Do you know what? I've got to take my hat off to you because when you said come on the pod and you said sort of 10 a.m. I'm thinking on a match day after New Year's Eve. Whew, some commitment to you. So well done to Ben for making it through 32 minutes of live broadcasting and only saying good evening twice. You got there.
There you go, Ben.
High praise. I'll put that one on my CV. Thank you all very much for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure on this morning's episode of the preview show. There's nothing I would rather be doing. You've all been excellent. Your support this season has been unbelievable as well. For those of you who didn't see, we did our end of year wrap up on socials, and 50,000 views across the whole year is absolutely phenomenal, especially given the fact that the year before we went and looked at it and it was 15,000 views. So for us to make that jump has been phenomenal, and you are a huge part of that watching along at home today. Even you, Hugh, you are an absolute trooper. So thank you very much for watching. If you want to find out more about any of our sponsors, then if you head to our website, www.thefanzonepod.co.uk, you can find out all you need to know about our lovely team of sponsors that make all of this possible. So go and have a look, go and have a nosy. Thank you for watching. Hopefully 3 Point podcast to come soon. And until the next one, take care. And I'm going back to bed.
Happy New Year.
Good night.